What's up, my Bear Necessities? My name is GoodKhaos, and welcome to my very first tips video. Today we're going to be looking at my top 5 Crucible gameplay tips. Since this is my first time attempting a tips video, please tell me what you think in the comments below, or tell me if there are any more tips or tricks you're hoping to see in future Destiny 2 videos. So let's get tipsy. My number 1 super important Crucible gameplay tip is check your radar. Your radar is your best friend in Destiny 2. It won't matter what gun you're using or how good of a shot you are if you don't know what's going on around you. Are you safe? How many enemies are shooting at you? Did you lose the guys that are chasing you? Consistently and constantly looking up at your radar. It might not come naturally at first, but after a while you won't even realize that you're doing it. Check out this gameplay and watch how often I'm looking at my radar. I barely realize that I'm doing it, but it's every few seconds. I do a spot check, and if I see anything, I try to figure out what I'm gonna do next. If you're not used to checking your radar, here are some times to practice. When your enemy pops in behind cover, you check your radar. When you're reloading, you check your radar. You ducked behind cover, you check your radar. Here's a quick rundown of what you might see when you are looking at your radar. This means there's no enemies very close to you. You're kinda safe. Enemies are coming up to you. You need to be careful. An enemy is within shooting distance of you, and you're within shooting distance of an enemy. Aim down sights and prepare. How do you not know there's an enemy right next to you? The enemy's up your butt. Fight him. Just so you know, hunter smoke bombs are going to show up on your radar as an enemy, so it can be confusing at times. It gets me all the time. If your radar's blinking but you don't see anyone, it's probably a hunter smoke bomb. If you crouch, you will not appear on the enemy radar, and similarly, if an enemy crouches, they won't appear on your radar. Your allies will show up as little tiny dots if they're alive, X's if they're dead, and arrows if they're not on your radar, but they're in that way, kinda close. The biggest challenge to using your radar is that most guns won't let you check while aiming down sights. You have to get in the habit of not ADSing so you can see what's going on. Like I said, it takes some getting used to, but you're going to benefit from it in the long run. There are a few tools that help you keep your radar up at all times, like Mida Multi-Tool or Knucklehead Radar. I can't think of others right now, but they had them in Destiny 1, so they're probably going to bring them in Destiny 2. If you know of any, let me know, because I'm interested. Speaking of getting used to things, we're going to be on to number 2. Stick with your loadout. All weapons take time to learn, even more time to master. It's not likely that you'll be able to pick up a weapon and excel with it, even if it's the same archetype as one that you're used to and you love. You'll need to get comfortable with your chosen guns to improve with them. It doesn't matter for the most part what's strong or meta or best. You'll see a lot of YouTube videos out there telling you what gun is the best, but you need to find what gun works for you. Everyone has a different play style. When you find a set of guns that works for you, you need to stick with it. It's going to give you an edge over someone who's constantly switching to the best, the awesomest gun out there. In most instances, if you find yourself up with someone who is always playing for the meta and you have the guns that you're best with, you'll have the advantage. An exception to this is, of course, when a gun's extremely broken, like during Laser Tag Weekend, which was awesome, but broken. But like I said, only you can decide what your favorite gun is. You can even try out the current meta to figure out what you like. But once you decide upon it, stick with it. What gun should you choose? I'd suggest a mid to long range weapon like an auto rifle, a scout rifle, or a pulse rifle, and choose a close to mid range weapon like a submachine gun, sidearm, or auto rifle. For example, Antiope and Uriel's Gift, Vigilance Wing and Last Hope, Nameless Midnight, and Positive Outlook. Try to avoid choosing 2 weapons of the same archetype. Don't be afraid to switch your guns when you're fighting. You get 2 primaries to use them. You can also choose weapons that help cover your weaknesses. For example, a weapon with high rate of fire and a high aim assist. Or if you have trouble with your tracker, Mida Multi-Tool to keep your radar up when ADSing. Remember, you don't have to play only with exotics. Just because they're yellow and pretty doesn't mean they're the best, because they're really not. Pay attention to the power ammo. Power ammo is important because it can turn the tide of battle, and fights are gonna take place around spawn points. Know where the heavies spawn on each map. If you don't, research their locations after this video when you have time. Or the next time you're in the Crucible, check it out, make a mental note of where they are and when they spawn. Know your surroundings. Check your radar and assess as you approach. Are you the only one there? Are you with a teammate? Or is there a swarm of enemies about to descend upon you? Knowing exactly what you're running into is going to help you figure out the next part. Know what you're going to do when you reach the power ammo, and act fast. Get it if you can, and if you arrive at the same time as your teammate, it's up to you to decide whether you give it to them or whether you try to take it yourself. Not that it matters, but it's a choice you'll have to make. You can't grab the power ammo when they're getting shot, so here's a tip for Titans. Pop your barrier, and you should be able to grab the power ammo, and then use it upon your enemies. If your enemy team gets the power ammo, every engagement is going to be more dangerous for you. If it's not too dangerous, and if you're not outnumbered, challenge the enemy team for it. Make them work for it. Don't just give it to them. If you do engage, can you pressure the enemy team into wasting it? Is a sacrifice in order? Is your death worth making them lose that rocket launcher? Should you run? There's a lot of quick decisions to make when it comes to the power ammo. With practice and experience, you'll find yourself making those decisions instinctually. One more reason to remind you to pay attention to spawns. It could be your best friend or your worst enemy. Make it work for you and your team. While power ammo can be your best friend, a best friend can also be your best friend when it comes to safety and success in the Crucible. This brings us to point number 4. Use the buddy system. In Destiny 2, 4 is greater than 3, 3 is greater than 2, and 2 is greater than 1. This is because math. Also, the Crucible has a very long time to kill. If you're running around with another player, your TTK is basically halved when you're both shooting at the same person. Unfortunately, that means if you're ever alone and you see 2 people coming at you, you're probably going to want to run. Not that you couldn't win, it's just you probably are going to lose, so just run. Pairing up or sticking with a team can be more difficult when you're alone playing with strangers because most players in a game of randoms are used to playing alone. Some don't know or don't care about time to kill advantages. Some are just dumb as balls. Most are just going to want to do their own thing, and you'll have to end up following them around, letting them lead because they think they're so cool. I do this a lot in my videos. I like to pretend they're my BFFs. Sticking with at least one teammate will give you a better chance at survival. If both of you land 2 headshots, the target's dead. 2 grenades, dead. Level the playing field if you're outnumbered, and disrupt enemy momentum if you're losing. Like I said, sometimes you're going to get matched up with people who are dumb as balls. It's better to stick with dummies, though, than fight alone. If they run into an engagement recklessly, let them be a human shield and a bullet sponge. Capitalize off of their poor life choices, and it's going to lead you and your team to the W. Or at least help improve your KD ratio. Other bonuses to sticking with your team include intimidation, greater ease of capturing zones, greater odds of securing power ammo, protection and cover. Fight or flight. Knowing when to fight and when to run is a huge part of the Crucible, and even though there's guidelines, a lot of the answers will have to come from you and your experiences, and you're going to be wrong a lot. Yay! I'll give you some things to think about, and we'll look at some scenarios, so hopefully you'll be better equipped to make these decisions for yourself when the time comes. Know your surroundings. Remember that stuff about using your radar? Well, this is where it's going to become super important. It's going to save your life. If you're running into a fight, it'll let you know if you're outnumbered or not. If you're running from enemies, it'll let you know if you've lost them, or if you're at a safe enough distance to turn and fight.
Zone advantage is yours.
Know your abilities and weapons. The decision to fight will depend upon the knowledge of your own abilities and limitations. If you're committed to your loadout, you're going to know how well you will do in a firefight before one even begins. Here are some safe bets.
Zone C
If you're still working on deciding which guns to stick with, playing the numbers game will take the effort out of the fight or flight decision. Fight when your team is equal to or greater than the enemy team. Run if you're outnumbered. Know your abilities and weapons. The decision to fight will depend upon the knowledge of your own abilities and limitations. If you've committed to your loadout and you're proficient with your guns, you'll generally know how you're going to do in a firefight before one even begins. If you're alone in a firefight and you need to run, it's almost always a safe bet to run to your teammates, even if you're better than the entire enemy team you're up against. It's not cowardly, it's smart. Play it safe. Remember, 2 headshots are better than 1. Of course, no strategy is going to work 100% of the time. There's going to always be exceptions. Every match is different. The battlefield is fluid and constantly changing, and you're going to need to pay attention, always adapting to the current situation. But remember, sometimes PF just happens. Once you decide to fight, remember you can always change your mind at any point in time. The Crucible is fluid. If you choose to run, you can choose to turn and fight. If a fight starts and you take too much damage, you can always turn and run. If a fight doesn't favor your given weapon, and you don't have one to compensate, then just run. fight, run, run, fight, fight, then run, then fight, fight, run, fight, die, fight, run, die, fight. Just remember, you're going to probably do all of these at some point in time. You just need to use your common sense and your judgment in each given scenario. It's okay to fail. I fail. You're going to fail too. But failure is key to progress. Well, that's it, my Bear Necessities. I hope these tips and ideas will help you get good in the Crucible. Once you practice these foundational basics enough to turn them into muscle memory and instinct, you'll be able to focus on other things like flanking, shooting better, capturing zones, general strategies. Let me know if you want to know more about any of these subjects, and I would be happy to talk about them. Thank you so much for watching, and like I said in the beginning, let me know if this was helpful. If you'd like to see more, what other tips and tricks would you like to know about? Or if you just want to see gameplay and weapon reviews, that's fine too. I want this to be a channel where we share the knowledge that we've all gained from the Crucible and grow together. If you've enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you hit that like button. If you want to see more content like this, I'd love it even more if you hit that subscribe button. And if you want to be notified of future video uploads and streams that I do, hit that notification bell. And that would be amazing. If you have any comments or questions or suggestions, you can leave them down below. And if you'd share this video, I'd be forever and eternally grateful. And as always, have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.